Hello everybody, welcome to this ePay webinar. My name's Ian, I'll be delivering the session to you today, and this is a webinar for salary claim entry and approval for Basildon and Thurrock University Hospitals NHS Foundation Trust. This is a recording, so this is something you'll be able to refer back to at any time. In terms of what we're going to cover in the webinar, we're going to give an overview of what ePay is, what it's designed to do. I'm going to talk you through how to register or set up your account on ePay. We're going to look at password management, which will include resetting a forgotten password. Then we're going to log in as a user and navigate around the home page so I can show you what the different buttons and links mean. We're going to look at entering a salary claim. We're going to cover some different scenarios. So this would be a person claiming for anything additional to their normal pay that they get automatically, things like non-recurring on-call allowances or perhaps additional sessions if you're a consultant, for example. We're also then going to look at approving that claim as an approver. So we are going to log in and approve a claim as well as the approver of that person that submitted it. We're going to look at running a report, in this case as a manager, and then we're going to touch on some of your key processes and how they might change as a result of using the ePay system. So ePay is an online web-based portal that's available on the N3 network and the World Wide Web, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You'll particularly be using it for salary claims, as I mentioned, and ePay uses reference data from ESR, which is the payroll and HR system that you're all paid through. So when you get your pay slip, that's been generated by ESR. What happens is all your information from ESR about you, including where you work, your home address, who your manager is, your NI number, your date of birth, all the information that's used to verify who you are when you register, comes over from ESR when we go live. And also then we get an update file every day. So if there were any changes made to your record in ESR, such as a change of home address, that would feed into ePay on an automatic interface the following morning to update your information in the ePay system. In addition to that, there are approval deadlines that will be displayed within the system. So then if you submit your claim in time for that, it would be extracted on an automated extract that's loaded into ESR and paid to you on your payslip in the normal way. As it says there, we do recommend that you do one salary claim per month for obvious reasons. One, to reduce the administrative workload on the approvers and yourselves, and also because each of your claims will be summarized. To say, for example, if you were claiming shift enhancements for March in one claim, then they would all be summarized on your payslip as individual entries. ePay manages the approval of claims through what are called workflows, which are automated emails essentially. And if you're wondering what happens if your claim doesn't get approved, there is an automated escalation process, which is what this slide is also about. So if we begin, if you follow my pointer, begin on the right hand side with the claimant. When you submit your claim for approval, it automatically sends an email to your approver asking them to authorize the claim. You'll be able to see on your homepage who your approver is, of course. And if they don't approve that claim within an agreed time frame, they will get a reminder, which is what the bullet points at the bottom of the slide are also referring to. So where it says first cycle 4 days, that means 4 working days after your claim has been submitted, your approver gets a reminder. If they still don't approve it after another 2 working days, which is also on the slide there, then it will actually escalate up to their manager, which we've called the second approver. So the key point there is, if a claim escalates to the second approver, the original approver won't be able to see it anymore, and the manager's manager will get an email. If the second approver doesn't authorize it after another 2 working days, then it will escalate automatically up to the ePay administrator. They're a small group of users within your organization who administer ePay on a day-to-day basis. On your homepage, you'll be able to see the contact email address for the ePay administrators, and you'll be able to contact them with any queries your line manager can't resolve. One of the things the ePay administrators do is they'll reassign escalated claims either back to the original approver, or if there's been a genuine problem such as absence, that means why these people can't authorize the claim, they might reassign it to somebody else, and it will then go back through the same cycle with each stage happening after 1 day the second time around because it's becoming more urgent. In addition to that, the second approver has a facility to reassign escalated claims back to the original approver if they wish to do so before it goes any further. We also have a concept called substitute approvers, so each individual approver can have up to 3 substitutes assigned to them. That's controlled by the ePay administrator, so they can assign the substitutes, and any approvers who have substitute approvers or who substitute approve on behalf of others will be able to see on their homepage, and I'll show you that when we get to the approval demonstration. In terms of registration, it's quite straightforward. So your organisation will email you a link to the ePay system when they want you to register. And when you click that link, you'll see a login page that looks like this. As we said, the system's available 24/7 on any computer. The first thing you would do would click the highlighted link called "Click here to register." You would then enter in some personal details. I would recommend having your payslip to hand because most of the information you need is on there. What you enter gets verified in ESR against what's held in ESR to make sure that it is you completing the registration. So you begin by entering your organisation number, which you can use the lookup there to search for by name for looking for Basildon and Thurrock, but it is on the front of your payslip, it's a 3-digit number. You'll then have your own 8-digit employee number. So if your assignment number has a -2 or 3 on the end, it's just the first 8 digits that you need, and your employee number is also your username in the ePay system. You'll then enter your first name as it appears on your payslip, your last name, your date of birth, your NI number and your home postcode, and below that you'll also find what we call a capture image. So this is something that's just verifying that you're not a robot really. And if you can clearly read what's on the image, as you can in this case, you can type it into the box below without any spaces. If you can't clearly read it because of obstructed characters, then click on the image or click this refresh button here to change it until you can. Type it all in and click next. What it does then is it double checks what you've entered against what's held in ESR. If anything doesn't match, it will say registration has failed. You get 3 chances to get the information correct, and to protect your data on the 3rd attempt, if it's still wrong, then it will block the account for 1 hour, and it will give you an HR email address to contact to verify if your information in ESR is up to date. And then once that's been updated, you can have another 3 goes, and if you still get it wrong, so that's 6 chances in total, it will lock your account permanently as a safety feature. But it will automatically email the ePay administrator to tell them that your account has been locked, so that you can liaise with them and they can liaise with you to figure out what the problem is and then unlock the account. If, however, you did get the information correct, when you click the next button at the bottom, you would see this screen where you'll be able to enter and confirm your password. It's got some guidelines for password entry there as well in terms of what it needs to contain. Shows your work email address that it will use to send you emails about your claims. And you can then set up 5 different security questions from a list of 20 and set your own answers. I would recommend using one-word answers so that they are easy for you to remember, and the other reason for that is because the answers are space and character sensitive, so they're used during the forgotten password routine, which we'll come on to. And if you put any spaces or characters in at this stage, but forget to do that when following the forgotten password routine, it might not recognize them as a valid answer. Once you've done that, it will show you the details of your main job and also the name of the approver that the registration is going to be sent to. So you click Submit Request at the bottom as highlighted, tick the terms of use and click OK. Then it will tell you who it sent the registration to for approval, and it's important to note that you won't be able to use ePay until the registration has been approved by that approving manager. When they've done that, you will know because you'll receive an email like this one. It will quote your employee number in the body of the email, and there's also a handy reminder there that says your username is your employee number as detailed above. There's also a link to log into ePay on the email as well, so you can use that so you know you can start using the system. In terms of the forgotten password routine, once your registration has been authorized and you're already using ePay, if you then forget your password, you can use this. using the second link at the bottom of the screen. It's very similar to registration in that you fill in your personal details. You have 6 chances in total to get the information correct. And then it will ask you to answer 2 security questions from the 5 you set up. And they'll be randomly selected and you put the answers in. Remember I said the answers are space and character sensitive. If you get those right, then you'll be able to enter and confirm a new password, and you'll then be able to log in. But if you do happen to forget a security answer when you're following this routine, you can click the Forgot Your Answer link, which will take you to this screen. You can press the Request Reset PIN button I've highlighted there. That will tell you the email address the PIN number has been sent to, which should be the one held in ePay. The PIN number is valid for 1 hour, and for that reason I recommend using it as soon as possible. So it'll show in bold in the email along with the expiry date and time. Copy it from the email if you can, it's probably the easiest option. Paste it into this box here and then click OK. And if it's still valid, it will allow you to set new security questions and answers that will replace the old ones. You'll then be able to change your password and log in. So I'm going to do a bit of system navigation now to steer you around the user's home page. And to do that, I'm going to bring up ePay. So this is the login page that I mentioned. I've been authorized to use ePay, so I'm going to log in and use my employee number as my username. If you do get a message pop up like this saying invalid login, then that probably means that you've got the password wrong, or perhaps the registration hasn't been approved yet. You do get 3 chances to get the password correct, and if you get it wrong 3 times it will block it for 1 hour. And then you can come back and have another 3 goes. If you keep getting stuck, then follow the forgotten password routine. And of course all that has been put in place to protect your details. Also, your passwords do expire every 90 days. So you will be prompted to change your password at that point in time. Now, because I got my password wrong, I'm being told that I've got a failed login attempt, which is correct, but at least if that happens to you, you will know that it was you. And on the home page, if we start at the top left, we have the profile name. This is an ePay user, which basically means they're not a manager. System messages for downtime or anything particularly important we want to share with you would be displayed in the top left system messages box. You then have your employee profile. Key information for yourselves using the salary only module would be your personal details would be displayed here. So your email address and your home address, for example. And then you'll also have where your base is. So in this person's case, they're based at Southfield Low Secure Unit, and that's their postcode. It also will tell them who their approver is, which in my case is somebody called Deborah Butler. Moving beyond that, the next key piece of information would be the ePay administrator email address. This is our training environment, so this one's entirely fictitious, but yours will be specific to your organisation to contact those guys for any queries you might have. At the middle of the screen, if I go up to the top, I've got some links here. So the home link is what you would use when you've finished working in a screen. So please don't use the back button on the browser. It's a bit like internet banking in that way. It doesn't properly refresh the session. So use the home link when you've saved your work. There is an e-learning module that you can use at any time. It's interactive and it's got lots of different modules in there. So if I just maximize that for a second, it starts to play straight away, gives you a bit of an introduction on how to use the tutorial, and then there are different modules that you can practice, including entering an employee salary claim. So you can practice within this screen without actually putting in a claim in reality. There's also e-learning in there for approval as well, of course. There's a help link, and within each screen there is a help guide in the page. So in the case of this one, where it's on the home page, the most common one is expenses, but if you go into the salary screen, there is a help file in there which I can show you very shortly. The accessibility link allows you to increase the font size if you wish to do so. You can see I've got mine on large. and then you can also change the colouring of the screen to black and yellow if you do find that easier to read. We've got a link to the SBS website there, and also a logout link on the very top right to log out. And I'm going to use my home link now because I don't want to log out at this point. I want to go back to the home page. In the middle of the screen we can see I've had a failed login attempt. Excuse me. And also you can see my last successful login as well. In terms of modules, the one you'll see on your home page most importantly is the My Salary Claims, because you're going to be using the salary module. And on your home page each month you'll see the next approval deadline and payday specific to your organisation, so you'll know when your claims need to be approved by. Your 10 most recently entered salary claims will be displayed in this panel here. So each claim has a unique 10-digit reference number that you can use for raising queries with the ePay administrator. The date entered would be the date you last updated the claim rather than the date you're claiming for, and then you'll find the status. So we'll go through status when we start creating a claim, but just as a quick overview, if you save a claim as a work in progress, it is entered. When you submit it for approval at the end of the month, it goes to submitted, then approved, or maybe rejected if you're unlucky. And once we've extracted it to be paid to you, it will change to extracted for payment, and at that point becomes read-only. The view link against each claim will show you, take you into the claim, but the home page will only show you the 10 most recently entered claims. If you do want to see more than that further down the line, when you've been using ePay for a while, you can use the View All Claims button, and we'll look at the screen that uses that very soon. Then you've got a Start New Claim button, nice and straightforward. Other modules you won't be using, so under the Solutions banner I'm just going to focus on this Salary Claims link here, which takes you to the same screen as the View All Claims button that I've showed you there. So I've navigated around the home page quickly. I'm going to concentrate on creating a salary claim covering some of the common allowances you claim in your organisation, but we've got a bit of a cross-section of Agenda for Change staff and medical and dental staff in this example. So if I click Start New Claim, what it will do is it will take me straight into a new claim. And in the main tab here, most of the information you need will default in. So it tells me who I am. It also tells me my main job or assignment. So if you have multiple assignments, you can click the drop down to select a different one there. So you can enter a claim for each assignment that you have. Your department will default in unless it's a bank claim, and then your approver's name will display there. And in terms of the month that you're claiming for, you can see mine has defaulted into the period of March because that's the month we're currently in at the time of recording, and it's saying the expected pay date for this one in this fictitious environment was the 30th of April. But the way it works is the pay date will always be the month after the period worked. So for example, if I was going to do a claim for the month of February, I would choose a pay date of March because these salary claims are always a month in arrears. When you've made your choices, click Next. And the very first tab it will take us into is this one called Enhancements, Excess and Overtime. So those of you on Agenda for Change Terms and Conditions may become familiar with this particular tab. It's for shift enhancements. Excess hours is when you're working extra hours part-time up to full-time, and then overtime is when you work above full-time. So we'll just go through some example entries in this tab before working through the other ones. The medical and dental allowances will be in the other allowances tab, which I'll go through when we get to that one. So in terms of creating entries in this grid, you can see the dates run down the page on the left. Weekends are grey, and then bank holidays when they arise are a darker grey again. You've also got an edit button on the right hand side for editing a particular entry, and you've got on the top right a button with a green plus called Maintain. So if I start with that one, if I click Maintain, it will default to the first day of the month here. So this is the entry window. and then I can choose the date I want to enter for. So for example, let's go for Monday the 6th of February. So shift enhancements would be entered in here for those who are entitled to that. You put in the number of hours on the specific day and it's in decimals, so 7.5 hours would be 7.5 like that. And then you'll know what you normally claimed before in terms of shift enhancements, but of course if you don't know in terms of night enhancements, if more than half of the shift is worked during the nighttime period, then the whole shift becomes enhanceable. And if I do want to save that entry, I've got a couple of different options, but there's a nice little trick you can do where if you change the date having created an entry, it will automatically save the entry for you. So if I just click this to change to the Thursday in the same week, it gives me a little display up the top right there to say entry saved. And in this case, I am a part-time employee on 30 hours a week. I can show you that when we get to it, but that is why excess hours is available to me, which as it says is for part-time hours up to full-time. So if somebody on 30 hours a week worked any extra hours in a particular week, initially the first 7.5 hours would be entered as excess, which is exactly what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to pretend on this particular Thursday I did 7.5 extra hours. Because I'm part-time, I'm not yet entitled to overtime until I've gone above 37.5 in that week. And then another way that I can save entries is using the button on the bottom right. So I can use save and next day, which is fairly self-explanatory, or save and close, or cancel if I want to throw something away. But if I do that, it will say, are you sure you want to do that? Which I don't. I do want to keep this entry. So if I click save and next day, it will save the entry and take me to the Friday like that. And again, you've got this entry save pop up here. And because I've now in the same week gone above, I've done 37.5 hours, so any more hours I do could be classed as overtime. Of course, if you're full-time working extra hours above full-time, then it would just go in as overtime anyway. And in this case, I'm going to pretend I've done 1 hour and 45 minutes weekday overtime. Because I'm on a Friday, you can see the Saturday and Sundays are grayed out. So 1.75 would be 1 hour 45 minutes. And then if I click save and close this time, the entries that I've created will be saved in the summary tab. So you can see I've got some column headers here for each of the enhancement categories and a total box at the top. So it's totaling up the different entries that I've done. You can also click on the rows to highlight them. You can use the edit button to edit an entry, or you can use the drop down arrow to edit or delete an entry. And you can also double click an entry to open up the entry window again as well. But in terms of the on-call tab, the next one along, this is one that won't be used by everybody, but we've got some examples of people who previously would have claimed an on-call allowance through a salary claim rather than getting it automatically in their pay, and these are the guys that would apply to. So as a different example, if we look at the 13th of the month here, so in a different week in the on-call tab, if I click edit this time on that particular day, it will take me straight into that tab because it's the one I clicked on, straight into the Monday. And because I'm on a weekday, I've got an option here. So in the on-call section, I've got some options available. These are the ones that people in your organization would quite often use. And the on-calls in ePay are entered in hours. So one occasion, if you like, is 12 hours in ePay, and it will ask you to enter 12 hours to get one occasion if you don't do that. You can have up to 2 occasions on a weekend, so you would put in 12 or 24 hours depending on how many occasions you worked. And then if you did happen to get called out whilst you're on call to do some work, so this is when you're called out, so you're on call and somebody says, well, can you come and sort this out please, then you can claim what's called work done, and you could put the 2 hours into the work done section, but you'll have 2 options to choose from. So whether you choose full-time or part-time depends on whether you are full-time or part-time, and also where you are in terms of hours worked in the particular week. So in my case, as you know, I'm on 30 hours a week, but I'm in a new week commencing the 13th of Feb, and I haven't done any extra hours yet, so I would claim these 2 hours as part-time initially. and then once I'd gone above 37.5 for the week, I could claim the full-time allowance. So this is when you get called out whilst on call, which is why this option is called work done. If I then click Save and Close in this window, in the same way as it did in the other tab, it saves the summary and it will give you the totals for the month at the top. And then the other tab that we have is the Other Allowances tab, which, as I mentioned, is really in the main used for the medical and dental staff. So if we go to the Maintain button, I've just got some examples here of the kind of allowances that you might be claiming for. And if you want to see the full list of allowances, then we will have provided one to your ePay administrators if you want to confirm which allowances are available in the system. So I can choose the date I want to claim for in the drop down. So I'm going to go for the 17th. And then I've got this Add New Allowance button here with the green plus. And I'm going to pretend that I'm a part-time doctor, so a part-time consultant working additional sessions. So I'm going to choose this option here. It's got a bit of guidelines saying that additional sessions are claimed up to 10 per week, including any contracted sessions. Full-time doctors would claim the full-time option, which is also available for any sessions worked more than 10. So let's just say that this is a part-time doctor that's done one extra session in that particular week. Click OK. It saves it in there as well. But then we still must make sure that we click one of the Save buttons to save the entry. So I'm going to use Save and Next Day, which is going to tip me over to the 18th of Feb, which is Saturday. Again, click the Add New Allowance to put in something else. This time I'm going to choose family planning fees as an example. This is something some people in the organisation in medical and dental claim. And we've got a sub list of things available to us, including this option here. And this is based on units. So which is why it says units worked there. So again, put in however many units you've done on that particular day. Click OK, and then we're going to click, well, if I change the date this time, I can show you that it also works in this tab in this way. So I've made an entry, I haven't saved it, but if I change the date, automatically saves it for me. You're going to see that in the summary as well. Click Add New Allowance. Let's choose something else, just as a third example. Let's go for locum duty. Got some different options here available, so these might be familiar to you. And this is another one that's worked in hours, I think this one is. So we could put in 2 and then click OK. And if you need to decimalize the units or the hours, then again it would be 2.25 for 2 hours 15 minutes and so on. This time I'm going to click Save and Close. And you can see in the summary grid there it says 3 lines have been entered. It shows the different allowances on the different days. Again, you can edit the lines by double clicking them, or click the edit button, or use the drop down arrow to edit or delete the entry as you wish to. So those are the example entries we're going to show today. It's worth mentioning now that as soon as you save an entry in a claim, it will automatically assign a claim reference number, which we can see on the top left here. So mine is 1083829, and the status of this claim is entered. So this is like a work in progress. I could log out from here, and this would be my claim for February. So I could log out and come back to it later. And in fact, if I click the home link, what you will notice is in your My Salary Claims list, your most recent claim will be at the top. So imagine you've logged in again the following morning. Your most recent claim might have a status of entered like this. You could click View. It will take you back into the claim, so you can go to whichever tab it is that you want to create entries on and click Maintain or click Edit, do whatever you want, and then carry on choosing your dates and creating your entries. So it does save it as a work in progress. Now what we're going to do is pretend that we've done all our entries for the month and we want to submit the claim, which is what this Terms and Conditions tab is for. So we click that. You've got a box here to confirm your normal hours or sessions. So depending on whether you're paid in hours or sessions, it will show your normal contracted hours there. You can tick the box to confirm the details. If it isn't right, you can use this edit button here to basically fill in what it should be, put in the reason, and that won't change the details in ESR, but it will send an email to your HR team to say that you think your details have changed. And you can also add an effective end date if you think you've left the organisation and it isn't showing in the effective end date box, so it's just an early warning system. There will be a declaration for you to read that will be specific for your organisation, so you tick the box on the right hand side over here to agree it. Then you click Submit Claim, and then in the case of what you see now, you'll see a reminder of the next approval deadline. And we also have what are called audit checks. So audit checks are designed to warn you to say, are you sure this is correct? It's like a warning double checking system. Any audit checks that display to the claimant also display to the approver. In this case, it's saying overtime has been claimed by a part-time employee. So if we just cancel the window for a second, go back and have a look at the overtime tab. Do you remember I said before I was part-time on 30 hours a week? You can see here is where I claimed the overtime on the 10th, but I have done 7.5 hours in that excess hours in that week already. So 30 hours plus 7.5 excess in this week means I've done 37.5, so the overtime would be valid, as long as it's been agreed with the manager. So this would be a case where we could say, yes, I've double checked it. In this case, the overtime is okay. If somebody is part-time and claiming overtime before they've worked full-time hours for a week, then obviously that would be incorrect. So as an approver, you would reject that if you checked the claim and it didn't all line up. So click OK. That then submits the claim for approval. So it automatically sends an email to the approver designated on the home page. The screen it's going to take me to in a second is called the View All Claims screen. So this would be a screen that you can use for viewing any claims you've ever submitted in ePay for yourself. So there's a status filter here. So you can filter claims by status, such as just show me submitted claims. And there's also some search boxes at the top as well that will allow you to search by entering search terms. So if I just reset that, then for example in the claim box I could say I want to see claim number 1083829 and then hit tab. It's given me a suggestion because it recognizes that claim is in the grid, so you could click on the suggestion or hit tab and it will filter it down to that one for you. Something else you can also see is on the right hand side there is an arrow. In the approver column it will tell you the name of the approver is with. So when I talked about escalations earlier, if your claim's been submitted and gets escalated, then the name of the approver in this box here will change to the manager's name, or if it gets escalated to the ePay administrator, it will say ePay administrator. So use this grid to see who your submitted claims are with. What I'm going to do now is log out as this user, and I'm going to log in as the approver. So those of you who have the responsibility of approving claims will receive an email for each of the claims that you're being asked to approve. So this manager will have received one. They also have a slightly different homepage, so I'm going to give you a quick overview of that as well. So this is a manager's homepage, and you can see it says on the top left ePay Manager. They have their own profile, so this is information about themselves, just like the users do. They can also see where they work. So Deborah's based at the Parkway Centre, and she can also see the ePay administrator's address details. But she will have this extra panel called Items Requiring Approval. So here we can see some example salary claims that have been submitted for Deborah's approval. So she'll have an email for each one. This will just show the 5 most recent, and I'll show you a grid you can go into to see more of them. So there is the one that we've just submitted today as Susan. They will also have a My Salary Claims panel for doing their own salary claims if they do need to do that. So in my case, I've got a claim that I entered on the 1st of March that's been approved, so I know that that's going to get picked up in the next extract. So it works in exactly the same way as it would do for the users. And then under the Solutions banner, you've got an option to enter your own salary claims, but also importantly, approve salary claims, which is the key one we're going to focus on. And then in terms of reports, you will be able to report on claims for your staff and also your own claims as well. We did talk about registrations. So remember when we showed the registration, we said it needed to be approved by a manager. So if you're an approver, the way that works is you'll get an email saying, can you authorize this registration? When you log in, you'll see them on your homepage in this option here. So you can just click on the person's name and you can either approve it or reject it. If you do choose to reject it, then you could put the reason why. And I guess the most common reason might be if you think it's not a member of your team, tell them who the approver should be, because what it will do is it will send a rejection back to the person, the user, but it will also send an email to the ePay administrator and send it back to them so they can reassign it to the correct manager and update the approval hierarchy. But I'm going to cancel that one. I don't want to reject that one today. I'll approve it later. In terms of approving a salary claim, you can probably guess I could either click on the specific claim I want to approve here, or alternatively I can click on Approve Salary Claims, which is what I would recommend because this gives you a working list of the claims that are with you for approval. Now, if you have been assigned as a substitute approver for somebody else, you will also see the tab that you can use to go in and approve on their behalf. So I'll talk about a bit more about that in a second. So this is the claims requiring my authorization, which is what that tab is called, claims requiring your authorization. And we can see we've got 3 records here. Most recent one, Susan's claim, is at the top. It's nice and straightforward. On the right hand side there is a review button, so you can click the review button and then you can see the claim appears in a read-only format. The tab cards will be locked to make sure you view each one, but just use this next button here and work your way through the tabs. So you'll see the summary in exactly the same way as the claimant did. If you want to view specific entries, you can. But again, double clicking or clicking view rather than edit in this case because it's all read only. And you can also, navigate around as well. So you can move between different tabs if you wish that way. View any entries you want to view. Click the On-Call tab to view that one. Same applies, so you can view any entries by clicking view. Move around the dates as you wish. And we still need to review the other allowances tab, so we still can't click on terms and conditions because we need to just review this tab. And as you know, I've given you some example entries for what doctors and consultants might enter. So again, you can view the entries to decide whether you're going to approve them. So if we click the Terms and Conditions tab, we have a different declaration for approval this time, of course. And if you do want to reject the claim for any reason, you probably noticed there is a Reject Claim button on every tab. So you only need to reject it once, but it's always there for you. But you can reject the claim for any reason you like, and that might be a duplication of entry, for example. ePay does have its own duplicate control, so it will tell you if it's found a duplicate claim for the same entries. If you do reject a claim, then put the reason on there and be quite polite, because it will send an email back to the claimant quoting the reason, and they will have to amend and resubmit the whole claim, or in this case, cancel it. I'm not going to reject it today, however. I am going to approve it, so just show you that if you forget to tick the declaration, it will remind you. So tick the declaration and click approve. Again, any warnings or audit checks that have been displayed to the claimant are also displayed to the manager. So if the manager reads it and isn't happy for any reason, they could click cancel and then reject the claim. In my case, I'm going to say I've checked it. I can see they have gone above full-time hours, so the overtime is okay, like we said earlier. Once a claim has been approved, it takes you back to the approve salary claims grid, and the claim you've authorised is cleared. So it's like a working document, and that's good because it gives you an idea of what you've got to approve, so you can decide to clear it down every week or every day, however you see fit. In terms of substitute approval, if somebody you are set up to approve on behalf of, in my case Caroline, then you can go in and just approve the claims on their behalf if they ask you to do so. But the key thing with that is you don't get emails about claims that are not for your team. So you would only go in and approve as a substitute if the person you're covering for asks you to do so. It also displays here some rejected claims, so you can see that if there's a claim you reject, it will stay in your grid until the claimant either resubmits it or cancels it, so you can track and make sure that they're dealing with it in the way that you do want them to. If we go back to the home page, I'd just like to show you something else about substitute approvals. So it will tell you who you can substitute approve for, and that could be up to 3 people, and also who your substitutes are if you've been assigned any. So that's quite a useful thing on your profile there. The last thing I want to show you is a report. If I go into the reports folder as a manager, there is an option of a report called claims approved by me. There'll be lots of different ones available to you, but we can just have a look at this one. So you can put in the date range of claims you've approved. Or you can put in a specific assignment number. That percentage just means it will show you everybody's. And then if we click execute, a lot of the reports are in HTML format, which is quite useful because you can drill down into them. So on the right hand side you can see a more link. So where the claim disappeared from the grid once you've approved it, you can use this report to go back and look at it again. So if I click the more link here, you'll be able to see all of the entries that I made as applicable. And then on the top left there is a back button I can actually use because it's inside ePay, and a close button there. So if there's a report you would like to see that isn't available, then make your ePay administrator aware, because we're always developing new reports and we do develop those ourselves. So that's the demonstration part of the session done with. So what I'm going to do is log out as this manager here, click log out on the top right. Am I sure I want to log out? Yes. So always make sure you log out in that way. And if I go back to the slides, I can recap on what we've covered. We've done system navigation around the home page. We've done salary entry, covering agenda for change entries, including on-calls and work dones. And we've also done some doctor's entries in the other analysis tab as well. We've also done salary claim approval as a manager. In terms of approval and rejection, like I said earlier, the reason you put into the rejection reason will be displayed on the email that's sent to the claimant, like this example here. So they will get this email, which is quite handy. All the emails that come from ePay say do not reply, so you won't get a reply if you do reply to an email from the system because it's automated. Please contact your ePay administrator with any queries you've got. When you reject a claim, it will display the rejection reason to the claimant at the top, like so. And we've also been through a report demonstration. In this case, we've looked at claims approved by me as a manager. So in terms of common queries that we sometimes get, please do remember you can't log on until your registration's been authorised by the manager. Your username is your 8-digit employee number. If you get your personal details wrong 3 times, it will block your account for an hour. And some extra information, if you don't log in regularly, i.e. 6 months after your last password change, your account will be disabled, but it will tell you to follow the forgotten password routine to reactivate it. On the forgotten password routine, the security answers are space and character sensitive, so try and avoid dots, dashes and spaces. And if you get your personal details wrong 3 times, it will block your account. If you get it wrong a further 3 times after an hour has elapsed, then it will lock it completely. Then it will automatically email the ePay administrator who can liaise with you to fix whatever the problem is. On the home page, we did look at the View All Claims button. There's also a status info button as well, which I will just show you quickly. Because that will also tell you some information about your claims. So while that loads up, something I want to tell you about as well is if your approver does change after you've submitted a claim, so let's say on Monday your approver is Bob and on Tuesday it becomes Jane. If you've submitted the claim already, obviously it will go to Bob for approval, and if you want to send it over to Jane, all you need to do is resubmit it and it will automatically take it out of Bob's queue and send it to Jane. If you see a message on your homepage saying no manager defined, that means there's a problem with your hierarchy and you should contact the ePay administrator. And as an approver, if you receive an email and the claim isn't there to approve, it might have escalated. So just double check the time and date of the email against when you're logging in, because it may have moved on to the next person up the line. I said I wanted to show you the status info button. So if I just go back into the claim I approved earlier, I'll be able to show you that. That is here on the top right. It tells you the status of the claim, in this case approved, and when the different stages happened. So if it was rejected, it would show the date and the reason. But perhaps most importantly, the date interfaced when it becomes extracted for payment will be displayed here. So if the claim was extracted in March, you know it's going to be paid in March. So that's a really useful piece of information. We also have what are called alert reminders. So 5 calendar days before an approval deadline, which just means including weekends. If you've got any claims with the status of entered that you haven't submitted, you will get a reminder email. It's up to you whether you submit it or not. It's just trying to help you get that claim paid in the next payment run. And then when there are 3 days to go before the approval deadline, the approvers will get a summary email if they've got claims in their approval queue still waiting authorization. So again, it's just designed to help the claims get approved in time for the payroll run. So you will be advised by email when to register. As we said earlier, if you've got any queries with ePay, contact your approver in the first instance. But then if you can't resolve it with your manager, then contact the ePay administrator using the email address on the home page with any queries, and also to set up substitute approvers. There is help and e-learning available in the ePay system as well. So that is the end of the webinar session, everybody. I hope you found it useful, and thank you very much for your time today. Goodbye.